And we're all set there. Okay, cool. Okay, so with that, I'll just introduce myself again real quick. We're going to get started here today. My name is Catherine. I'm the engagement manager with Let's Detroit. We're so excited to have you today, and we're so excited to have this event today with the Detroit Promise team and Duo Security. So looking forward to meeting everyone, and hopefully you'll be able to get to know our guests today as well. So as mentioned, if you're just joining us, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat, what school you're at, or where you're tuning in from today. We'd like to, kind of see that going on in the chat. You're welcome to use the chat to ask questions today as well, or you'll see in our agenda on the screen here, we have a few moments where we're going to pause for questions as well. So you'll be also welcome to unmute yourself at that time. And if you're uncomfortable with that, you can also put your questions in the chat, so we'll monitor that as well. Once we get started, I'll send the link for these Google Slides for you to have. I'll put that in the chat so that you can also see, we'll have a notes page that we're going to take some notes down today. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to my colleagues, Jade and Christina from the Detroit Promise, to introduce themselves real quick.
Thank you, Catherine. So my name is Jade Scott, and I am the manager with the Detroit Promise. And then Christina.
My name is Christina, and I work with the Detroit Promise. I help out with putting on events like this and also with student success and outreach.
Awesome. Emily, we want to pass it over to you for a sec.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Emily Samar, and I lead Duo's internship program. And I've been with Duo for about going on 4 years now. So it's been a long, fun journey, and I'm excited to talk to you more about our program.
And I'm Rosie. I also work at Duo Security. I originally started there as an intern last summer, or summer 2019, sorry, still getting used to the whole 2021 thing. And I've been a full-time software engineer since last March.
Awesome, thank you so much. So we're gonna do just a quick overview of Let's Detroit and the Detroit Promise before we pass it on to Emily and Rosie, who are gonna go much more in depth about Duo and the internship opportunities that we're gonna talk about today. Okay, so, and again, please keep introducing yourself in the chat too, because we want to keep getting to know you as well. So Let's Detroit, if you haven't visited letsdetroit.com yet or followed us at Let's DET on social media yet, we are kind of pulling together all things live, work, play, and volunteer in Southeast Michigan and in the Detroit region. Everything you see on the Let's Detroit website is written by and for young professionals and college students who are either building their careers here in the region or are thinking about staying here and building their careers here. So please feel free to check that out. These are some of the types of events that we like to do with Let's Detroit, and highlighting different types of careers and job opportunities and internship opportunities in the region, especially with some of our major employers. So we would love for you to be a part of the Let's Detroit network. So please check that out. And you have more information about that in these slide decks later that you can take with you. So Jade, I'll let Jade talk a little bit more about the promise.
Yeah, thank you, Catherine. Once again, I'm Jade Scott with the Detroit Promise. With the Detroit Promise, we are a scholarship for students that live in Detroit and attend and graduate from a high school in Detroit. We help provide a tuition-free pathway to college. We partner with community colleges and four-year universities to offer trade, 2-year and 4-year credentials to students at 26 partnering colleges in Michigan. We also work really heavily with outreach to the high school. So we typically work with seniors, and we have recently expanded to K-12 outreach. And we also have been working with our scholars since 2013. So we have over 5,000 scholars that have utilized the Detroit Promise to go to college. I see some here today, so I'm very excited for you all to join us. We understand that we want you to go to college, and we need to help you figure out what's that next step. So that's really why we started these college to career conversations, because we're here to help, and we want to make sure to give you those opportunities. We also have our campus coaches at our community colleges. And then we also have our students. We have wonderful students doing amazing things. So thank you all for introducing yourselves. And then we also will have time later to make sure we can connect as well. And I think I'm going to start by passing it over to Emily with Duo. And Emily, I believe you have a PowerPoint to share with us, but Emily's going to give us an overview of Duo, history, and dive into some information there.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jade. Let me go ahead and reintroduce myself to Zoom, coming from a WebEx world. Share screen. Here we go. There we go. I think, actually, we'll do this. Is that it? There we go. Can you see my screen or the slide deck?
Yes.
Perfect. I swear I've used a computer before, so bear with me. So hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Emily Samar, and again, I lead Duo's internship program. I wanted to kick it off with a brief history of Duo and how we got here today. So with that, a little brief overview. Duo started as SIO in early 2010 with Doug and Jono. And then as time and funding kind of continued, early rebranding started in 2011, 2012. From 2012 and beyond, Duo experienced rapid growth, new office transitions, and additional funding. In 2018, Duo was acquired by Cisco Systems and is now the leading provider of trusted access, security, and multi-factor authentication delivered through the cloud. Duo's mission is to make security simple for everyone. We were born from a hacker's ethos and have a desire to make the internet a secure place. We believe in empowering our people to follow their passions and enable everyone to bring their authentic selves to work. Duo's values include engineering the business, learning together, being kinder than necessary, and building for the future. These values are encompassed through our leadership team, individual contributors, and our interns. These values define our company culture. So with that, when we combine Duo's vision and values with the internship program, our idea is to create a space where interns can collaborate with their team, share new ideas to help improve processes, i.e. work smarter, not harder. And most of all, we want to ensure that interns feel empowered to bring their authentic selves to work. Essentially, we want you to be your best self. So I figured instead of me just talking about the program, I figured some like visuals would be helpful. So one of the best parts about our internship program, though, that I want to call out is that we were able to continue the program during the COVID pandemic. We successfully conducted a 100% 12-week-long virtual program, and we were able to provide an exceptional experience along the way. Duo loves interns, and I want to emphasize this to a whole different level. We love interns, and we are dedicated to keeping its spirits alive, regardless of what the world is looking like or feels like. So with that, let's talk about the perks of the internship program. At Duo, we're not just going to sit you in front of a computer, or you as interns, we're not just going to sit interns in front of a computer alone and send you on coffee runs. At Duo, we invest in our interns' professional development. We design workshops that cater to career growth areas and plan activities to keep interns engaged with their peers throughout the summer. Additional perks to our internship include top-notch benefits, such as health insurance and relocation assistance, an endless book budget, yes, endless, and so much more. So just a brief overview of the internship details. Our summer internship program for 2021 starts on the week of May 24th through August 20th. It's a 12-week standard program. And we are actively, in all of our job descriptions and everything are on the site, on our website, duo.com/about careers, which I'll share the link with you when I'm done presenting. And feel free to go check out the roles that we have listed, which I'll show roles here in a moment, and apply. So again, here are our roles that we are actively recruiting for. So this is something I did want to call out while we're standing here, is that we are recruiting 26 interns across the entire Duo BU. This is a first for Duo, as historically it has been a R&D focused program in the past. This year, this means that we have opened up the program to orgs such as business operations, IT, customer success, and product marketing management. So overall, this is a really, really big growth area for us. And even, in fact, my team's hiring too. So we are looking for an employee programs intern and an internal communications intern. So with that, I kind of want to open up the floor for some questions.
So I'll get us started. So given the internship, you talked a little bit about the timeline of like when the internship will start. Can you give us a little insight into the application process and what that looks like when to expect a call back, or like when to expect like some communication back after you have submitted your resume and things like that? And then also talk about, once you actually get the internship, what that placement process looks like as well. I saw like it would be staggered. If you could talk a little bit about that.
So the application process everyone has to apply on using the sourcing rec online. So again, I'll share the link here after I'm done talking through this. And then what I would suggest, and Jade, if you're open to this, if there are students that are interested in roles to kind of help expedite resumes through is something that I like. I'm always accepting resumes via email. So Jade or Catherine, if you want to share resumes with me directly, I can go ahead and I call it matchmaking. So I'm like your little algorithm on the back end that's going to place you with a team that I think would be a good fit based on your interests, obviously, and your strengths and such. So then it works pretty rapidly. Once we find a good team that's a fit for you, we'll go ahead and work with the hiring manager and someone from So we work very closely with our university recruiting team at Cisco. So our university recruiting team partners will go ahead and guide you as the applicant and our team as the interviewers through the entire process to make sure we're aligned and ready to make that hire, no hire decision at the end.
We are definitely open to that and love the idea of doing that because that also streamlines everything. So that is a really big benefit for those that might not know. Can you also tell us about the interview process and what that would look like? And maybe like some tips on like some do's or some don't do's when applying and when interviewing, and then who really should be applying?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, I'm going to do a little call to action here. Can I get some raises? Can I get some hands up for engineers? Do we have any engineers in the house? One engineer. Hey, Rosie. So maybe let me try this one then. If I don't know if folks are able to have the ability to unmute themselves, but it would be cool to hear about what folks are interested in, so I can kind of give because different teams interview differently. So just to give it a good example, I think if someone's willing to either pop in the chat or unmute themselves and say what their interests are, I can kind of provide a little bit of additional feedback for team specific interviews. But as far as like a general interview practice that we use at Duo, we start with an initial, we call them behavioral screeners. So it'll be a 30-minute phone screener to talk through things such as like what your interests are, where you're at in school. What do you want to be when you grow up? How do you manage a project? How do you manage yourself? How do you manage your time? Things like conflict resolution. So those are the standard behavioral interview questions that we ask, and these are just examples for a phone interview. That's just to get a feel if we're both on the same page as far as like a culture add. And then followed by that, some teams do technical interviews. So I see software development. We do an hour-long CoderPad interview. So this will be an interactive interview for software engineers, and they go through and they do a live coding example with our 1 to 2 depending engineers. From there, we'll circle back with the hiring managers and then follow up with the next steps. And then we call it round 2. So we'll go from round 1 interviews, which is the basics, and then transition to more of the round 2 interviews, which is going to be more of a longer behavioral. So instead of a 30-minute behavioral, it'll be like an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, depending on the team. So again, just talk with 2 people from the teams to make sure, like, how do you play well with others? What do you do? What do you bring to the team? What do you like to do? What do you do outside of work, right? Are you enthusiastic about learning? Like, how do you like to learn? We really just want to know you as you and your growth areas. So those are all things they follow through. Some other teams do case studies, they do writing examples or writing exercises. So it really just is like whatever role you're applying for, there might be some sort of niche application process. But then for software engineers, what we like to do that has been something that works successfully is a 30-minute follow-up coffee chat with a former intern. So that gives students the ability to take a moment and talk with someone who's been through the program and really highlight their experience and interview Duo, because you're interviewing us as much as we're interviewing you. So it has to be a good fit both ways for it to work, right? And we want to make sure that we're helping you thrive and grow in this career path.
Thank you, Emily. That was actually really helpful. I think traditionally we think interviews are this like half an hour, we meet, we just talk, and then next time it may be like an hour and we meet and we talk. But it sounds like you all have a lot of very hands-on interviews as well, like so different opportunities given like what areas like students might be interested in interning in. So
Yeah.
Thank you for that insight there as well.
Absolutely, you're welcome.
I also had a question, Emily. So I'm going into cybersecurity, and I'm actually attending a Michigan University boot camp as right now, an 8-month boot camp. And I'm trying to, at the end of school and everything, I want to be a cryptographer. And I was wondering where do I fit in this internship, because I'm going to cybersecurity and I just want to get my feet wet, or whatever you want to say, to get started.
Yeah, so Lorenzo, right? So is your question like, how do you get your foot in the door at Duo?
What opportunities do you have as far as being a cybersecurity?
So as far as cybersecurity roles this season, we aren't offering cybersecurity specific roles. However, if you want to share your resume, I think that's going to be like what my recommendation right now is, sharing your resume with Jade to kind of pass it over to me. And what I'll do is I'll send it along. I'll help you find people to talk to. And if at least not within Duo, then maybe Cisco as a larger organization. We are part of the SBG Security Business Group, and they're actively looking for interns as well. So again, this is part of my role, is like being the matchmaker on the back end. So if like you tell me what you want, I'll try to help you find what you need. And then additionally, maybe even if anyone is open to it and we can find someone with it at Duo that's interested, is looking for a mentor, building up your network and in your professional network, and helping to grow yourself and like your community in the cybersecurity world. Those would be my recommendations for this.
Can I add something, Emily?
Yeah, absolutely, Rosie.
Yeah, so I'm a software engineer, so not we're all part of like the R&D kind of group. There's security and then there's engineering. So I'm more on the engineering side, but I will say that my internship project, when I was an intern in 2019, was actually implementing a security feature. So I'm sure we'll get to this for the intern Q&A part, but instead of fetching coffee, like Emily said. We do actual projects that are important to Duo's product. So as an intern, I got to implement end-to-end a whole security feature that helped sorry, I haven't socialized in like 10 months, help keep our customers secure. And so that was just kind of the other side of cybersecurity, if you're interested in kind of like dipping your toes in that side. But I will say that technically we say that everyone at Duo is in security because people are kind of your first, I don't know where I was going with that. I'm sorry.
We also are hiring on our IT team too. So if software or since we don't have a security specific role, but we have software engineering, we also have IT roles open as well. So I think the best bet is going to be sharing your resume with Jade or whoever. It would be the best bet, and then making sure that, which I'm going to say this now, duo.com/about. If you take a look at the website link that I shared in the chat, this will take you to our overall hiring page, and there will be a call out with which roles are interns. All of our roles are combined under 6 sourcing recs, which is sourcing recs is what we call like the applications. So you'll be able to click through the PDFs and read through the job descriptions and really find out what's going to hone into your talents and your competencies and make sure that they align with your career goals. And then once you find something and you've applied, make sure you share your resume with one of us, and we'll just kind of help you through the process as best as possible.
Okay, and then my next question was that after the internship, how or are you able to get a full-time job if you want to go into a full-time job after the internship with DUI, or?
Yeah.
I could tell from Rosie. Yeah, she apparently she's working there now, but
yes.
That was my question.
Yes, and I think we're going to pivot to Rosie actually, so she can talk a little bit about her internship experience, and then also give insight into what it's like working for Duo now as well. So Catherine, if you want to get us started there.
Yes, and I do want to, while we do that, maybe Emily, you can take a look at, there's a couple other questions in the chat that we can address in our next kind of section here. So these are also, these are all great questions. So I do want to make sure, I made a note too in our notes page of kind of coming back to the question on the kind of the percentage, would you say maybe of interns that happen to roll into full-time roles after their internships? So we'll come back to that too.
Yep, I can definitely come back to that.
Okay, good, because that was a great question. Thanks, Lorenzo, for your questions. So we got a little bit into Rosie's experience as an intern, and so we would love for you to tell us a little bit more about your project. You briefly were touching on that. And what was your interview experience like, if you can remember and recall your interview experience? And then I think you mentioned before we started our program about that you also help with some of those follow-up interviews, coffee interviews kind of, or coffee chats with prospective candidates sometimes. So we'd love to hear about that too. So let's start with a little bit more about your project when you were an intern in 2019.
Yeah, of course. And I'd like to apologize in advance. I have a small dog. She can sometimes be a little barky. So fingers crossed no one walks down the hall of my apartment while I'm talking. So yeah, I was an intern the summer of 2019. That was, for context, I was going into my senior year at the University of Michigan, but the years are a little off because I went to Washtenaw Community College before I transferred to the University of Michigan. So I was a transfer student there, so a little bit of a non-traditional path. So I was about a junior level when I started at Duo, and I was majoring in engineering physics and computer science, but I didn't really like physics that much anymore. Turns out it's just math, which I should have known, but and so I was really more interested on the computer science side, but I hadn't necessarily taken the same amount of classes as someone who was full computer science during their program. So my interview process, I remember being really nervous, which I don't think I should have been because everyone's so friendly. but I had that half an hour initial chat on the phone, and I didn't know it was just going to be getting to know you, seeing if you'd be a good culture add to the team. And so I had prepared for a technical phone interview, and the recruiter at the time was Kyle, and he just started to be asking questions about like what I like to do at school, what classes I enjoy, stuff like that. And I was pleasantly surprised. And it was really great. And he answered all the questions that I had about Duo. And then I had a second phone interview, and that one was actually technical. And I don't know if people here use leak code. That's a common like technique to prep for software engineering interview questions. But I had used that, and I was really nervous, but it ended up being just fine. I thought I had gotten the question wrong, but what we're looking for isn't necessarily you knowing the correct answer to the leak code question so much as how do you work through a problem, how do you approach a problem, what do you do when you get stuck, things like that. So after that interview on the phone, I got invited in for a 3-hour in-person interview, which is the longest interview I've ever had. And the first part was behavioral. So they asked me about, how well do you work in teams, problem solving, all sorts of, making sure you'd be a good member of our team and kind of espouse the virtues of Duo, things like kinder than necessary, working together, that kind of thing, as well as another technical interview, and then an interview from a former intern, which I believe Emily mentioned that they changed and they do the coffee chats after that with a former intern. And everyone I talked to was so nice, so friendly. And I just remember thinking, oh man, I really want to work here, right? Especially since I'm from Ann Arbor, it's in Ann Arbor. I wouldn't have to move, that's a plus. And then I ended up getting the internship. And so my project over the summer was working on an automatic lockout. So, sometimes you forget your Facebook password or whatever. And if you type in the wrong password too many times, it locks you out, right? So we needed to implement that for a specific part of Duo's product called the admin panel, which is what IT administrators and other admins use to configure Duo's policies for their population of users. So for example, University of Michigan requires 2-factor for everyone who goes there or works there. And they have it set to, you can only remember me for 7 days. There are certain types of like authenticators that you can use, like your phone or a YubiKey or those kind of settings. That's not exactly what I was working on. But if you try and put in your password too many times to that portal, my program made it so it locked you out and then sent you an email to self-remediate and say, oh, click here to reset your number of attempts, which I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but it was 12 weeks worth of stuff. So yeah, and it was really fun. I got to work really closely with my team, who I love, who are probably the main reason I came back to Duo, because everyone I've worked with while I was there was so kind and so helpful and just like genuinely wanted me to succeed, which I haven't worked at other tech companies, but from some of my friends I know who work at like the larger tech organizations, that's not necessarily the same everywhere. So I felt really lucky, and I didn't want to kind of waste this opportunity I've been given of having a really supportive team. Yep.
I have a question for you because I like this story and I haven't heard it yet, and this is
Oh no.
Story. So I want to kind of touch base with you, especially because we've got a lot of younger students on the call, is imposter syndrome and how you work through imposter syndrome, and then kind of I really always enjoy your like the moment you failed a class story and how it got you to where you're at today.
Yeah. So the semester, so I had gotten the internship in like March of 2019, and I think when they said, all right, in May, you're going to be an intern, get ready. I was so excited. That same semester, I failed a class, not just any class, 6 credits worth of class. Just Oh, obviously, not my proudest moment. To be fair, it was I was also working 22 hours a week this semester. I took on way more than I could handle. I was in 3 student orgs. I was working full time, not full time, but 22 hours a week, plus taking a full load of classes. I failed the class, like F failed. And I remember just feeling so awful and thinking that Duo would revoke my internship, or they wouldn't want me to be there anymore, or I was a failure and I was going to have to drop out of college. And I don't know. I don't know what. At the time I worked at Target, so I go back to working at Target, I guess, which is fine, but not what I wanted to do forever. And I just remember feeling like such a fake, like I had like somehow conned my entire team into thinking I was smart, and that's why they gave me the internship. And now they were going to find out that I was lying to them. But the people that do it, they didn't care about my grades or like a specific class so much as they cared about, I'm willing to learn, I'm enthusiastic, I try really hard. And I certainly learned a lot of things from the class I failed. For an example, one thing that I was really good at in that class, which unfortunately was not the whole class, was multi-threading. And it turns out that's something that we do use at Duo. Multiple threads run concurrently. And because of my prior experience, no matter what grade I got in the class or what credit I got for it, I still knew these things that helped me to be successful in my job. And that summer really helped me in terms of kind of facing that imposter syndrome and realizing that the letter or the numbers in your GPA don't really account for how successful you might actually be in the field. Like I graduated with, I'm just gonna say, I graduated with a 2.7, which is not the highest GPA in the world, but I got the degree. It's on the wall right there. You see that bad boy? I earned that.
Did you put that there for the today?
Well, there's my Washtenaw Community College Associate's degree, and then there's my University of Michigan bachelor's degree. So it doesn't matter the GPA. I got the piece of paper. I've got a job. The story is really important to me because I just remember feeling like such a faker, which is just not, it's just not accurate. So whenever you're feeling down about classes, especially during the times that we're currently in, like we're living through a lot right now. Your GPA is not a measure of worth.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you.
I also had a question, another question, if you don't mind. My other question was, is this like a paid internship or is it like an experienced internship? I think
no, they pay you. They pay you.
Okay, that was my next question.
Oh no, they're not gonna make you work for free. That's
Nope. Yep. You get paid. You get health insurance if that's something you need. You get health insurance for the summer. You accrue sick time. You get paid holidays. You get one time to give day, which is super helpful because like we do global days of impact. So it's like take a day to pick up trash or just, I don't know, do whatever you want to do to help support your local community, given a COVID safe world and like what that means. Whatever you can do, if it's big, small, like anything to give back to your community is like we really believe in, especially like right before the holidays and shutdown. For example, we gave $25 credits, Bright Funds credits, to everyone at Duo so that they could pass along to a donation center of their choice. So it's like we really thrive in the giving back and kinder than necessary. Like when I say kinder than necessary, I know it sounds a little hokey. Like what does that really mean? Like these people, like they're sipping the Kool-Aid. No, it's real. Like it's a yes and culture. It's a how can I help you culture. It's a like I want to help you grow. What do you want to do? It's like how can we help? And it really just like it empowers you to thrive as a young professional in the career, or a professional, not just young, just I keep throwing that out there, as a professional in the field, no matter where you're coming from. We've brought on someone from my team went to be a tree doctor and is now a program manager and helps lead our learning and development program. We used to have someone where we've had teachers go from being math teachers to now who are like kicking ass in our MFA platform or admin team or one of the MFA teams. Like, she's killing it. So I guess what I'm saying is, like, if you really like are passionate and want to grow, like we respect the non-traditional backgrounds. We are interested in learning and providing experiences with folks to learn as well. And we want you to be compensated for that. I do want to answer, but I don't know if anyone has any more questions, but I did want to touch base on the full-time percentage of full-time conversions at the end. So this is what my take on this is that like we bring interns on performing as an intern. We have you leave, quote, leave, as a software engineer 1 or entry level equivalent role. So that's the level we want you performing at the end of the program. From there, it comes down to if you're exceptional, and I would love to say that everyone is exceptional in their own ways, but if you are just like knocking it out of the park, then a manager and a team is going to find a way to keep you on board. A lot of it has to do with like where we're at with budgeting and headcount for the year. But if you add value, they don't want you to leave. And what we've done is maybe we don't have headcount right at the end of the program, but we'll bring you back later on. We just brought back one of our product managers who he stopped for a little bit. And then after the internship program, we brought him back in December. So from September to December, he was just kind of hanging out, doing what he needed to do to take care of himself. And then we gave him a job. So there's no specific percentage, but what we want to say is just like our goal is to have you come in as an intern and then leave as an entry level equivalent, if not higher, which is possible.
And then my last question, before I start interrupting everybody, my last question was, is it like a strict schedule, or do you work around like people that, maybe other people have different job or have to go to school, or doing like I'm doing a boot camp? Do you work around that schedule, or is it like a strict schedule?
So this is a pretty autonomous workplace. So, and because we are currently remote, it's extra autonomous because Cisco, as we work for, is a 100% work from home policy until the end of June. So how this impacts our internship program, I always say, is operate on the side of like, or go into the assumption of this internship program is likely to be remote. Therefore, this is a huge learning experiment for everyone and trust building exercise, because it's like we're giving interns the opportunity to show their worth, show their growth, be flexible, and hold themselves accountable. We do recommend the 9 to 5 business hours, but if you have a class, take your class, like talk to your hiring manager and they'll be flexible with your schedule. The 9 to 5 is a basic like general rule of like when people are a duo are on Slack or online so they can have conversations. So, but we still would, people are flexible. If you have a doctor's appointment, you have children, if you have life, I have a dog, I have to take him on 1.5 hour walks every day. Like he's high energy. So I have to bake 90 minutes in my schedule to say, hey, I got to go walk my dog every day. So it's like people will be flexible if you need the flexibility. Great question.
I have a question.
What's up?
So, what resources such as like newsletters or podcasts do you recommend for students that may be interested in interning at Duo to really immerse themselves in the commitment and the endeavor of becoming an intern with you all?
So that's an interesting question. As far as I would recommend taking a look at our duo.com page in general, and there you're going to learn a lot about our products. We have a blog. You can bring yourself up to speed on anything that is Duo related. As far as external resources for learning, we look at manager tools. That's more of like a resource that we use for interviewing. So if you want to kind of learn more about our interview style, manager tool trainings, they have podcasts. They also have things of like conflict management, how to give and receive feedback. So you can kind of look at those and build off that. And there's podcasts out there as well. Medium is another platform where you can, Elena Spratley on our team kind of talks. Medium. Yep. Elena Spratley on our team, she talks about how to keep yourself sane in this remote climate and how to engage with each other and have make friends and things like that. So those are some that some items that come top of mind.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great question. And Rosie, if you have any other recommendations, feel free to pop them in the chat and we can add them to the notes page.
Oh, I was just gonna add in terms of like benefits, stuff that Duo does, some of at least the things that I really like, were the Bright Funds that Emily was talking about. It's a platform that allows Cisco/Duo to match any donations you make to a charitable organization. So I've, now that I'm adult, big girl money, which is very exciting for me, I can actually donate, and then Cisco doubles that donation to the organization of my choice, which is really awesome. And it kind of feels like you're getting like the full benefit of that good corporation money. And then the other thing, not that it's happening right now, unfortunately, but there's so much free food at the office. That summer I was an intern. I ate so many snacks. There's an espresso maker. I miss it every day. But yeah, just some other like little perks.
Jade, what I'll do is I have a video. It's an office tour video that we created for another program that we're participating with. There's a lot going on right now, but I have a video that if you would like to share with the attendee list, kind of get a feel for Duo's culture, I can go ahead and maybe create some useful resources. And again, I think Christina was the one who asked the question about and put a little bit more thought into it. I think that would be helpful of just like where I think that you could go to find tools, and then just answer any kind of general questions that you may have about the program. I know we're a little bit over, but I do appreciate everyone's time. I really am so excited to see the turnout, all your faces. I'm so excited right now.
This was very exciting. This was really, really good. And yes, we did run over, but once we all started talking, I knew this was going to happen. So no worries there. We'll figure it out. We will send a follow-up email after the webinar today. So typically before the end of the week, you'll get a follow-up email from us, and we'll put all of this information in there. Catherine has also been taking notes the entire time in the slides. So we have like some highlights in there as well, talking about some of the interview process, where you should be going to look for internships, things like that. So we will try to make sure everything is covered. So yes, Emily, feel free to send that over and we'll get it in there. One question I noticed, and I know there are a few questions in the chat, and you were able to jump in and answer some. Are the internships open to all years, or is there a preference for like upperclassmen?
So that's a good question. It really depends on the role. For our software engineering roles or positions, we've noticed that at least based on like, because we have interviewed an array of candidates from freshman level to senior level, well, junior level, because so you have to be enrolled in a program to qualify for the internship. If you graduate, say, May 2021, you would be eligible for a new grad role at Cisco, because I don't think that's something that Duo participates in yet. So a new grad role at Cisco versus an internship role. If you graduate in December 2021, you would still qualify for the internship program. Or if you say you graduate at August 2021 because you had to take a summer class, that still makes you eligible for the program. If you were enrolled in some sort of boot camp or some sort of engagement activity, or not activity, but like learning opportunities, that qualifies you for the program and applying. So that was the first part. And there was a second part of the question that I derail everything. And I'm cool staying over a little bit. I don't have anything after. So Jade, what was the second part? Can you ask the question again? Because I feel like there was one other part I wanted to call out.
I think it was from TJ. Are these internships open to any years or upperclassmen?
Oh, yep. So there we go. I wanted to follow up. So so we typically like to go for rising sophomores and rising juniors. Those are like preference area, but it doesn't mean, I mean, if we have just like a rock star freshman that is crushing their technical interview, we can certainly go ahead and move along with the process. It's just that we've learned that like with where our technical interviews are at, that the sweet spot is rising sophomores to junior year or rising juniors to senior year.
And okay, perfect. Because then I also just wanted to clarify, you answered the question about location. And is the location super important right now, or is there more flexibility because everyone's remote at the moment? Or
Yep, that's a good call out. So it is that, again, going back to like that working hours of like that 9 to 5 working hours is if like we do, so it'll be a remote internship likely. It will likely be a remote internship. In the instance that you work with a team that is based out of Austin, that just means your day starts from at 10 and ends at 6.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
time zone difference.
who doesn't like to sleep in?
Right.
So that's how, and then if your hiring manager lives on the East Coast, then it's adjusting to your team's working style as well. Some teams have leads that are out west. It all really depends on your team culture, if you will.
Okay, cool. And so we do have just, we only have a few more minutes left. And I think Jade and I can help maybe, we'll compile all the questions that were in the chat that we didn't quite get to yet too, and get some of those answered before we send out our follow-up email from today. But I wanted to also touch on, we also didn't fully quite get to Christina's question, or, some of our notes that we had for today on what the process is from here. Like once you apply, it sounds like Rosie, you heard back in March that you were going to start a May internship. And then maybe if you can share some of the specifics about how much do you pay your interns, or just a little bit more of that technical of like, what's the timeline after you apply? Obviously, we would encourage everyone to apply ASAP for right now. And don't rely on the deadline to apply, but like kind of what that timeline is from here on out.
Yeah, so that's a good question, and I'm driving this at a higher level too, so I'm ready to talk about it. So that's perfect. Our goal is to have all offers out by the end March 17th, and all offers in hand to candidates by March 30th. So we are driving this, and I'm driving hiring managers to get resumes in, or resumes reviewed and such. So I would encourage you to have, if you are interested in applying at Duo, have your resume over to Christina or Jade and I over the next week or two. That will get you in that first push, because I'm talking, full disclosure, I'm talking to our hiring managers tomorrow about just like, let's get things rolling. So if you are interested, like that would be my recommendation, is getting your resume over so we can have it in hand, and applying on the site and having your resumes in hand between like over the next week and a half. Just to like really, but note, like if you're not ready yet, that we will do this internship program. We start recruiting as early as August. So I'll start recruiting in August for our 2022 interns. So if now's not the right time for you, we can go further out. And as far as compensation goes, like we do compensate our interns accordingly, and it is a generous compensation, and we make sure that we take care of those who are working with us.
Okay, cool. Christina, do you want to add anything to that, or do we think, have we covered some of those major bases? Do you think?
Yep, I think so. So you have an understanding of the timeline. Where exactly do they find the application though?
So the application is duo.com/about careers, and then they'll have to funnel through. I mean, I could send, it might be easier. I mean, we can follow up. If you give me edit access to the doc, I can add some thoughts too, or whatever works. I can follow up with additional, like very, very hyper specific details for those that are just like eager.
All right, awesome.
Perfect.
Awesome,
thank you.
Yes, and so let's see, how about we open up the floor for one more question? It might, if it was already in the chat and we didn't get to it, feel free to ask your question out loud. I just want to open it up for a sec. If there's anyone else that would like to ask a question.
I do, I have a question.
Great, go ahead.
When you're working with a team, how would that work? Like as of right now, because with the whole pandemic going on and everybody's at home, how would that work?
Yes. Well, I can speak from like an engineering standpoint. So the way it works this past summer for my team's intern, she would meet with her mentor in the morning before our team's daily stand-up. So every day our team gets together for half an hour and we all talk about what we're working on, what we're stuck on, that kind of thing, just a little check-in. But before that, the intern normally meets with their mentor to kind of make sure any questions they have are answered. And then throughout the day, as an engineer, I normally only have maybe another meeting in the day, maybe 2 maximum. But of course, because it's a little bit socially isolating, especially if you're like me, I live alone, start talking to the dog. My team meets for about an hour a day, also just to chat, kind of like we're still in the open office space, so we can ask questions about what we're working on, social questions, just kind of make it feel a little bit less isolated. And of course, we've got WebEx. We can share people's screens. You can make sure that they're looking at exactly the same thing you're looking at, which makes it a little easier.
Yeah. And to kind of piggyback off what Rosie said, what we do is we build out an intern support team before an intern onboard. So we build out the intern support team. So we say, hey, hiring managers, do you have anyone on your team that's looking to be, who wants to kind of dabble with what it's like to be a manager for 12 weeks, right? So aspiring folks who are looking to be a manager will then on a team will say, hey, yes, I want to do this. And so they're the intern manager for the summer. So you have an intern manager that's an IC, individual contributor, like myself and Rosie, who say volunteer to be your intern manager. They will meet with you weekly, bi-weekly, whatever, to get you set up for like the more like professional development, feedback, growth areas, and things, the conversations that we would typically have with our managers. The hiring manager will kind of guide you at a high level and kind of introduce you to the team, bring you up to speed on just like cultural introductions and how Duo's workflow. And then going to the technical mentor, they'll really help you kind of see through the Duo's code base, best practices, where to go, how to use these things and such. And so the mentor is like very like hands-on in the beginning, but based on your learning and how fast you're like catching on, they may, the experience might, or like the interaction might dwindle off as you become more comfortable with our systems and be more of like a, instead of a daily check-in, maybe it's a once a week, like, yo, what's up? Like, how's this? And then another thing that we do is we do events. So we'll do virtual events, even though we're remote. Like last year we did events, we did a virtual capture the flag event, we did a virtual hack day, we extended the program by a week so our interns could participate in a hack day. Other teams use one-off activities. So we try to keep everyone engaged throughout the entire summer.
I have one quick question.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi. I wanted to know, is there a certain like level of experience required, or are there available like positions for like beginners level, or you want to kind of build on some more skills in like the technology or software, just to see?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I think we level set expectations as far as understanding that interns are interviewing as interns and that your portfolio is not going to be as robust as someone who's a senior level candidate. So we go in with that mindset of like, this is an intern, this is like, and then look, if again, my favorite things, I mean, I can't speak for other teams or other hiring managers. My things that I like to look for is eager to learn, driven, can work independently, and plays well with others. Like those are my like top ones that I like to see, because everything else can be taught, right? If you're eager to learn, we can teach you these skills. And just to give you a little bit of my background, like I was an admin. So I started off prior to this role as a receptionist. I graduated college, didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, started as an admin to then kind of figure it out, right? So it took me a few years to figure it out, but here I am, and having had the experience of working with teams and learning and having leadership drive these areas. Like I sat down with who's my manager today, and I was like, tell me about your job. And I was like, ooh, that sounds fun. How do I get there? how do we get there? And so I really just recommend like showing your eagerness to show up and learn, and then everything else will fall into place. And then practice. If you're in a technical role, I would practice and hobby as much as you can on the side. So if you're saying going for a software engineer role, I would practice with different new languages, new code bases. I don't know. I'm just throwing things out that I think might happen in the coding world, but I think we like they just want to see that. Like I have one hiring manager in particular who says this candidate didn't sound like they were very excited about software engineering. So they want to hear that excitement, right, in your voice. Like, oh my gosh, software engineering, yes. Like, throw my computer, I'm so excited. Like, they want to see your eagerness. So I think, and then everything else can come into place.
Thank you so much, Kayla, for that question, and Alonzo for your questions as well. I do want to maybe wrap it up here officially, but again, we can stay on for a few more minutes. But also wanted to mention that Duo is sponsoring a really cool event conference coming up in February called Hacking with the Homies with Detroit Black Tech. So that's also something you should check out. We can include a link to that in the notes as well. So like I said, we'll follow up on the questions that we missed in the chat and send those out in the notes and in our follow-up, and we'll send the recording from today to you all who were able to join us today. So just want to kind of officially say thank you for joining us and for being here today. And we'll just stay on for a few more minutes if anyone wants to linger for a minute. Okay. Awesome.
Thank you all for being here. And thank you, Duo, for hosting this today with us. We are very excited, and we will definitely be sending over those resumes. And we are excited to get this opportunity in front of everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting us. I'm just having so much fun to be
Yes.
real.
You.
Like I'm having so much fun right now.